PT.2 Discover the incredible transformation. A homeless girl's heartwarming act exposed a billionaire's compassion. In the heart of downtown Chicago, where skyscrapers soared into the clouds and dreams collided with harsh reality, 17-year-old Lily stood on the corner of Michigan Avenue. The world around her hurried past, oblivious to her captivating melodies drifting from the worn strings of her violin. Homelessness wrapped its cold fingers around her life after a tragedy shattered her family, tearing apart the only safety she knew. But beneath her tattered clothes and tear-streaked cheeks, a fiery spirit thrived. Each note she played poured out her pain, but also her hope, an infectious rhythm that turned the heads of even the busiest passers-by. With a heart full of dreams and a talent that could light up the grimmest night, she found solace in gathering her fellow street-dwellers for brief moments of joy. No one could escape the beauty of her music, it embraced them, weaving through the city's chaos like a thread pulling them closer together. Littered with despair, life was a struggle, but as Lily played, smiles crept onto weathered faces, and for a moment, the world felt lighter. In the cacophony of urban life, her tunes echoed the resilience of those who too often went unseen. Despite the small joy that music brought her, grief stirred a desire within Lily that swelled stronger each day. She envisioned a grand charity concert, a stage adorned with local artists, where souls like hers could gather and share their stories. The shelter where she found refuge had saved her when she had nowhere to turn. As she rallied support, however, she faced a wall of skepticism. A homeless girl organizing a concert. What a foolish dream. New faces brushed by her, so close yet failing to see the light behind her eyes. Doubts plagued her moments of solitude, leaving her to wonder if it was worth fighting for. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. In a bittersweet twist of fate, a prominent music producer stopped to listen while she played, captivated by the raw emotion that flowed through her strings. Hope ignited dangerously, but then, news broke of a scandal intertwined with his reputation. As uncertainty roared, it felt like her dreams hung by a thread. Would they slip away like sand between her fingers? The harsh voices around her whispered doubt louder, yet Lily clung fiercely to her passion, her heart thumping in her chest. The day of her concert arrived, lights glaring down as she took the stage. Vibrant, pulsating energy surrounded her. As she played, every note seemed to shake the very foundation of judgment hurled at her for too long. She poured her soul into every stroke of the bow, tears welling in her eyes while radiant smiles spread across the crowd. And just as she reached a crescendo, a moment of triumph, a confrontation from her past emerged, threatening to unravel everything she'd worked for. Would she rise above? Could her music be the key to transforming hearts, both hers and those of a changed audience? In this flickering moment between despair and hope, she could change it all, but the decision weighed heavy. Would she step forward, or allow the crowd to define her fate? As the final note hung in the air, the real challenge lay ahead, waiting to unfold. Would her story inspire a community to see beyond the surface? And would her family finally recognize the journey she had taken? The spotlight shimmered around Lily, the last note vibrating gently into the charged silence. Her breath caught in her throat as she scanned the faces in the crowd, searching for familiar eyes. But it was an ocean of strangers that stared back, a mixed canvas of hope, skepticism, and curiosity. She could feel the tension thick in the air, as her heart raced like a drum echoing in her chest. Then, cutting through the palpable quiet, a young woman in the front shouted, "You're amazing." Her words pierced the weight of expectation surrounding Lily, and a ripple of applause ignited in the crowd. It pushed away the shadows of doubt and wrapped her in warmth. She swallowed hard, blinking back tears of gratitude. In that moment, she knew her music had touched someone, but as the cheers erupted, a figure in the back caught her attention. A man standing silently, arms crossed, had a familiar posture. It was James, her estranged father, his expression unreadable. A mix of anger and fear churned in her stomach. Why was he here? Had he come to sabotage her moment? Memories of their last confrontation flooded her mind, his harsh words like daggers through the fragile safety she had built around her heart. Just as confidence brewed within her, it wavered, causing her hands to tremble against the wood of her violin. She pulled in a deep breath, deeply aware that the coming minutes could either shatter her resolve or solidify her breakthrough. They were on a precipice, and now it was time to leap. With a steadying exhale, she spoke into the microphone, her voice breaking through the haze of uncertainty. "Music can heal. It has saved my life," she began, her sincerity drawing the audience close. "I'm here to share this with you, to remind you that no matter where we come from, we can rise. We can sing." Each word resonated, inviting reluctant hearts to open. She noticed a few heads nodding, eyes shimmering with understanding. Memories danced through the crowd as her story unfolded, a collective pain, a shared struggle binding them, moment by moment. The music she played wasn't just her own, it was theirs too. Suddenly, James stepped forward, breaking the crowd's focus. The murmurs built with uncertainty. "Lily!" he called out, desperation lacing his voice. "I didn't mean to abandon you. I came to find you." The noise of the festival faded into an anxious hush, all eyes turning toward this unexpected scene. Lily's heart pounded. A whirl of emotions enveloped her: anger, fear, yet a flicker of longing. Could it be true? Did he really want to reconnect? The weight of her past and present collided, asking her to forgive in a moment when she should be celebrating. "Why now?" she shouted, her voice strained but powerful. After all this time? It was a question that demanded answers. Would he explain himself? What right did he have to interrupt her journey after all the hurt caused? The crowd held its breath, each person waiting for the answer, each feeling implicated in this emotional tug-of-war. This moment could twist her burgeoning hope into despair, or perhaps offer forgiveness. As the tension stretched painfully thin, Lily realized her course was changing. What blow would this confrontation deliver to her nascent dream? Uncertainty bled into the air again, mixing with Lily's determination. She could choose chaos or closure. But in that instant, she also knew that confronting her past could help herald clarity, and perhaps, a greater transformation awaited her. With everything hanging delicately in the balance, Lily faced her father, heart racing. The real question lingered: would she be able to forgive him? As she prepared for the next move, the weight of the moment felt bittersweet yet exhilarating, just like the final notes of her song. The air crackled with tension as the crowd held tight to their breath. Lily's gaze locked onto her father's face. He looked older, but the fire in his eyes still burned bright, a desperate flame searching for redemption. "Because I made mistakes," James called back, his voice raw and jagged. "I left, I was scared. I thought you'd be better off without me, but I was wrong. I've thought about you every day." Lily felt a wave of nausea wash over her. Was he really trying to explain? The betrayal of his absence clashed violently with the longing she had tucked away in the crevices of her heart. The cheers from the audience faded into a dull roar, just background noise to her inner turmoil. "He doesn't deserve a voice in this moment," whispered a woman from the front row, a mixture of sympathy and anger in her eyes. "You've worked hard for this." Lily knew everyone was watching. She could see hope and anger dancing on their faces, reflecting her turmoil. With her heart racing, she hoisted her violin to her chin, its familiar weight a balm against the chaos around her. The music would guide her. "Please," she said softly, her voice laced with emotion. "Can you just listen to me?" She inhaled sharply, striving to quell the fire within. "All those years, the silence. You don't understand what it was like not knowing why you left. Why you chose to walk away. What could I tell you that would make this right?" He replied, vulnerability cracking through his voice. There was a flicker of pain in his expression that mirrored her own. For a moment, everything else faded away. Maybe he wasn't just a ghost from her past after all. Maybe he was just as lost as she had been. But the thought didn't soothe the ache in her heart. By being here now, that's one step, I guess, Lily said, feeling raw as the words spilled out. But it's just one step. I've spent too long pushing through without you. I don't know if I can just forgive you because you say you're sorry now. The crowd absorbed her words, a ripple of murmurs breaking the simmering silence. She met their eyes, looking for support, and found some. There were nods of understanding and empathy, shared stories swirling around her. They understood the difficult balance between hurt and hope. Before she could lose herself in her doubts, she started to play. Her fingers glided across the strings, a haunting melody filling the space. The music swelled around her, enveloping her father in the warmth of forgiveness she so desperately sought. As notes poured from her soul, she thought about the little girl who yearned for her father's love, who never truly understood why he couldn't stay. She poured that pain into her music, letting it vibrate through the crowd. It washed over everyone, those who had faced loneliness, betrayal, and longing. James stood frozen, but she could see tears begin to streak down his face, his usual bravado cracking like fragile glass under its own weight. Her beautiful song mingled with the weighty silence, drawing the audience closer, feeling her vibrations of hope weave through the air. But just when she thought she could find a path toward closure, the spotlight flickered, and a sudden voice from the back shouted, "What if he doesn't deserve your forgiveness, Lily?" Lily hesitated, the heart-wrenching question hanging in the air like a storm ready to burst. A cracking vulnerability wrapped around her fragile resolve. Could she really forgive him? Or would she turn into the very thing she feared and end up trapped in her own anger? With the eyes of so many on her, she had to decide. In the spellbound silence, she wondered, was this a chance for renewal or just another chance to be hurt all over again? The answer felt closer than ever, yet still out of reach. Lily's heart pounded against her chest, each beat amplifying the weight of the question that hung in the air. She paused, bow hovering above the strings, hesitant. The crowd held its breath, and the atmosphere thickened, crackling with expectation and vulnerability. "What if he doesn't deserve your forgiveness, Lily?" The voice rang out again, bitter and sharp, slicing through her melody. It belonged to a woman with fierce eyes, someone who seemed to embody the anger and disappointment so many felt. "You fought for your dreams. You don't owe him anything." As the murmurs of agreement spread through the audience, doubt crept in. Lily lowered her violin, struggling with the tumultuous feelings swirling around her. She had practiced for this moment, envisioned an emotional release, but nothing had prepared her for the gravity of this crossroads. "Maybe you're right," she finally said, her voice trembling. "Maybe forgiveness isn't owed. It's earned." She caught her father's gaze, his eyes pleading, filled with regret, and she felt the crumbling walls of her heart letting a glimmer of sunlight beam through. But, what if it's not just about him anymore? What if it's about me? She could feel the crowd shifting, the energy shifting like a tide. Perhaps they understood now. She wasn't just a daughter faced with her estranged father. She was a woman seeking peace, a soul longing to break free from the chains of old hurts. Taking a deep breath, Lily lifted her violin again, feeling the familiar wood against her chin. "I won't ignore the pain you caused, the years of wondering why." She closed her eyes, remembering the little girl she once was, dreamily clutching her instrument. "But I can't let it define who I am today." With newfound determination, she began to play again, the music transforming into something powerful, a resolve, a reclamation of her own narrative. Each note soared, wrapping around her heart like a warm embrace. She poured every ounce of hurt, anger, and longing into the melody, creating a catharsis that pulsed through the stage. The audience listened, raptured by the depth of her emotions reflected in the notes. She played not just for her father, but for everyone who had faced loss and needed to realize that healing often didn't come wrapped in neat little packages. Sometimes, it came through pain, through the agony of acceptance. As the final note lingered in the air, she opened her eyes. She felt lighter, the burdens beginning to lift. "I may never understand fully what you did, Dad, she said softly, eyes still locked onto James, but I need to believe that healing can come even from brokenness. His eyes glistened, revealing a tightly held hope, and in that fragile moment, Lily glimpsed the possibility of forgiveness. It wouldn't happen overnight, but she understood. She could move forward, one step at a time. The woman from the front row nodded, her expression softer now. That's it, Lily. She called out, joining the applause that began rippling through the crowd, filling the space with warmth, but another tremor shot through Lily as she turned to face the audience once more. Thank you for being here, but I want to hear your voices. What has hurt you? The weighty question lingered, the silence thick with shared stories waiting to be told, with pain and hope grappling for a foothold. Lily's heart raced again, but this time with excitement mingled with trepidation. What stories would emerge from the crowd? Would they find their own paths to renewal like she was starting to? Her eyes left the audience momentarily to glance at her father. Together, maybe we can heal one note at a time, she said, buoyed by a sudden rush of courage. But in that moment of unity, another voice called out from the shadows, deeper and more resonant. What if healing comes at a price you're not prepared to pay? The question echoed back at her like a haunting refrain. Could she handle whatever would unfold next? Would her journey lead her down another painful path, or would the music finally set her free? Lily's breath caught in her throat as the voice of uncertainty echoed through the auditorium. It felt as if all the air had been siphoned from the room, leaving only her racing heart to fill the void. She looked out into the audience, a sea of faces, all staring at her waiting. What do you mean? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper, the weight of the question pressing against her. The audience shifted, faces glancing at one another, a shared apprehension hanging in the air. The voice that had challenged her came closer, a woman stepping out from the back. What if facing him means digging up pain you're not ready to confront? Her voice held a mix of concern and defiance. Not everyone finds closure in the way they expect. Lily felt the truth of that statement gnawing at her insides. She had thought that playing her heart out would simply equal forgiveness, a triumphant leap towards healing. But now, uncertainty loomed like dark clouds threatening to rain down confusion. With a shaky hand, she lowered her bow and clutched the violin close. Her father stood still, every muscle tense, his expression unreadable. She could feel his longing to explain, to bridge the gap between them, but the noise of the moment drowned out his silent pleas. Taking a breath, she faced the crowd. Maybe healing isn't just about the music or what you've lost. Maybe it's about understanding the layers of pain intertwined in our lives. She could feel small droplets of sweat forming on her brow, but she pressed on, buoyed by the rawness of her emotions. Sometimes, it takes digging deeper than the surface to find out how much it costs to forgive. A murmur of recognition spread through the crowd. She could sense the collective breaths being held, a gathering of people's stories tying together, each thread fraught with its own pain and beauty. For the first time, she felt like she wasn't alone on this journey. She lowered her gaze for a moment, allowing herself to breathe, and then, amid the silence, a man stood up from the side, his face lined with experience. It's true, he said, his voice strong but gentle. Forgiveness is a process, not a moment. I lost my son once. I'm only now learning to forgive myself. Lily's heart tightened as she met his gaze. His words pierced through her, shattering the fragile walls she had built. How did you do it? She asked, feeling compelled to reach out. It starts with accepting that you are broken too, he said, his voice steady. Sometimes you have to pay the price of pain to find the light on the other side. Tears pooled in Lily's eyes, blurring the faces around her. Each person held their own grief, their own journey of healing. And in that moment, she realized how interconnected they all were. Their lives were notes in a symphony, each with its own story to tell, its own rhythms and dissonances. Let us take this journey together, Lily said, her voice growing stronger. I want to hear from you all. What sacrifices have you made in your search for peace? Silence reigned again, but this time it felt alive with energy, anticipation. She watched as people exchanged glances, a ripple of determination coursing through those who felt compelled to share. Each voice that rose from the audience felt like another layer added to the music she played in her heart, a new symphony forming from the chaos of pain. But as she listened, another thought crept in. What if, by encouraging this openness, she would unearth truths about her own pain that were far more difficult than she anticipated? Her heart raced at the prospect, the uncertainty mingling with a fierce determination to explore the shadows of her past. Would she be strong enough to face what lurked there? And as the first voice rose to share, a deep breath resounding through the crowd, Lily couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning of a much larger discovery. The first voice, trembling yet resolute, cut through the stillness. "I'm Sarah," she began, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "I lost my sister 2 years ago. She was my best friend, my guide. When she passed, I felt like I was swallowed by this dark place. It was like I was wandering through shadows, looking for a light that refused to shine." Lily's heart ached for Sarah, the weight of loss crept closer, wrapping around her like a heavy cloak. She nodded, urging Sarah to continue. "I thought keeping busy would help. I worked 2 jobs and ignored my grief. I didn't let myself feel." Sarah paused, taking a deep breath that seemed to shake her whole being. "But inside, I was screaming. The guilt. It was paralyzing to think I wasn't there when she needed me. I had to confront that guilt, to face it instead of running away." A collective breath escaped from the audience, and Lily felt the threads of empathy binding her to Sarah's story. Each word resonated, as if echoing the unspoken fears hiding in the hearts of those around them. "What did you do?" Lily asked gently, her soul ignited with the need to know, to understand how one could navigate such pain. "I wrote her letters. Unsent, just for me. I'd write about our memories, our dreams, the laughter we shared. At first, it hurt too much. But eventually, I found healing in those pages." Sarah wiped a tear from her cheek, allowing a gentle smile to bloom. "Writing saved me. It taught me to forgive myself and remember her joy rather than dwell in my despair." Lily felt warmth bloom in her chest as Sarah's spirit began to shine through the veil of sadness. Each word was a note in the healing melody that hummed through the room. It gave Lily confidence to confront her own fractured relationship with her father. As the next person stood up, a middle-aged woman with silver-streaked hair, she introduced herself as Joan. "When my husband passed, I didn't think I'd survive it. My world became so quiet, so empty. I painted to cope," she reflected, glancing down at her hands, as if they held the palette of her grief. "Oh, those paintings." One viewer called from the crowd. "You had an exhibition last spring." Joan's face lit up, a tender smile reaching her eyes. "Yes, I did. It was incredibly hard to put my heart out there, but through each brushstroke, I found pieces of myself again. My art became my voice." Lily's heart fluttered at Joan's resilience. The tapestry of shared grief began to weave itself tighter, threading through the different stories, connecting them in ways she had never anticipated. "Art and words bring us closer to ourselves and each other," Lily said, relying on the courage these women had shared. "Maybe it's a way to turn our pain into beauty, to find purpose through suffering. Healing might not involve closing doors, but opening them to face the echo of that pain." A wave of murmurs followed, and Lily could see heads nodding in agreement. The room resonated with understanding, and she felt the air shift as more people prepared to speak, but even with the shared stories filling the space, doubt whispered in the back of her mind. As she observed the faces around her filled with hope, but also fear, would her own revelations sever ties instead of healing them? She planted her feet firmly, the weight of her father's gaze pushing her to take the leap. But just as she was ready to address her own fears, another voice filled the auditorium, a shaky, familiar one. "Lily?" Her father's voice broke through, drawing attention once more. "Can I share something?" The world felt like it paused. As Lily's heart raced, battling emotions surged inside her. How would she respond? Would she dare to listen, knowing he held pieces of the past that had shaped her? A silence enveloped the room, pregnant with possibility. The moment bore the potential to shatter or to mend. Was she ready to confront what they had both avoided for so long? Lily's breath caught in her throat. She hadn't expected her father to speak, let alone to step into the spotlight she had just shared with others. She couldn't block out the memories that rushed in unanswered questions, the long nights waiting for him to come home, the silence that screamed louder than any argument ever could. Lily, please. He shifted on his feet, looking more vulnerable than she had ever seen him. I know it's been a long time since we've understood each other. I can't change the past, but I want to start mending the present. It was as if the air thickened around them. The room held its breath, an electric tension sparking between father and daughter as the crowd leaned in, eager for connection. After your mother left us, I thought shutting down was the best way to protect us both. I didn't realize how my choices pushed you away, he continued, his voice shaky but determined. I lost myself in my own grief, and I never saw how much pain it caused you. The words struck Lily like a lightning bolt. She had believed for so long that she was alone in her hurt. The tears she thought had dried up now welled in her eyes. He was acknowledging her pain, calling it what it was. It felt like a small door had cracked open, revealing a light she hadn't dared to hope for. Dad, she started, but the words tangled in her throat, fighting through the pain of years stacked one atop the other. I know I can't fix everything with an apology, he said, stepping closer, his gaze earnest and vulnerable. But I want you to know that I'm here. I'm learning. I want to support you. I want to hear your voice. The crowd remained rapt, sensing the gravity of their moment, a father reaching out, a daughter hesitating between old scars and new beginnings. Lily's heart raced. This was an opportunity unlike any other. Lily, your voice matters, whispered Sarah from the side, her own story echoing in the air. Whatever you have to say, it's valid. The encouragement wrapped around Lily like a warm blanket. What if this was the moment to step into that light Sarah had fought for in her own journey? Taking a deep breath, she let go of a decade of resentment and hurt. I've always wanted you to see me, to really see me. When Mom left, I felt abandoned too. I thought you'd never notice. I thought I was invisible. Those words, raw and trembling, shattered the silence. They hung in the air, heavy yet freeing. She watched as her father's expression shifted, a flicker of pain crossing his features, and suddenly, he was the one looking vulnerable. I see you now, Lily. I don't want you to feel invisible anymore, he replied. Let us talk, just you and me, like we should have done long ago. In that moment, she sensed the currents of change stirring, a possibility of healing rising between them. Hope blossomed, and she dared to dream of what reconciliation might look like, but then a soft, trembling voice from the back broke the tension. Can I share something too? A young girl, no older than 12, stood up, her wide eyes filled with fear but also a strange determination. It's about my mom. Lily's heart lurched. The raw honesty from the girl's plea yanked everyone's attention back to the shared struggles of the group. Would the focus shift from her and her father to this new narrative, or would the moment of connection deepen as she hoped? The room crackled with anticipation, leaving everyone wondering, what story awaited them now? The girl took a breath, shaking slightly. Her voice, though soft, held the weight of everything she had endured. My mom, she left last year. I thought it was because she didn't love us anymore, but tears spilled over her cheeks, and she brushed them away quickly, a determined look taking over her face. I found out she was sick. Very sick. Lily felt the room shift, the collective heart of the audience thumping heavier against the weight of this new reality. All eyes were on the girl, a moving picture of vulnerability. Her story was a stark reminder that pain knew no age, no bounds. I was angry at her. I was scared, the girl continued, her small voice trembling. I thought if I just ignored it, maybe it would go away. But that only hurt more. One night, I went looking for her and I found her on the street." Gasps spread through the crowd. They were leaning in, grasping the depths of her revelation as it sunk in. Lily felt her own heart race, a mixture of empathy and dread spanning between her and the little girl. "She didn't see me. Not like she used to," the girl went on, sorrow spilling from her eyes. "I couldn't stand it. I wanted her back, the way she was before." Her brave admission hung in the air, a bridge woven of grief and longing, and in that moment, Lily's thoughts raced. Could they truly connect through a shared pain, one that straddled different worlds but resonated at a deeply human level? "Can I ask?" The girl hesitated, her eyes cast down. "Is it too late? For her? For my family?" The question echoed through the room, reverberating against the walls. Lily held her breath, mirroring the girl's uncertainty. She was right there with her, reflecting the same fear that had settled deep in her own bones years ago. Just as the room began to quiet, her father stepped forward, softening his expression. "Honey, it's never too late. Sometimes, it just takes a brave act to bridge that distance. You reaching out, it's already a step toward healing." Hope sparked like a fire in Lily's chest, igniting a flicker of strength. She considered how much courage it took for this girl to share her truth, to stand in front of strangers. It was vulnerability at its finest, and it pulled Lily closer, not only to her father but to her journey of understanding too. What if we reach out together?" Lily's voice broke through, suddenly sure and unafraid. "What if we all took a step to understand each other better? To help one another heal?" The collective breath of the room shifted, nothing standing in its way now. The air pulsed with possibility of connection, of rebuilding what had been left broken. She locked eyes with her father, a silent communication flowing between them, unearthing paths toward the forgiveness they both craved. The little girl swallowed hard, her bravery igniting courage in everyone's hearts. Can we try?" A chorus of agreements followed, as the audience found their voices, echoing the little girl's sentiment. In that moment, they weren't just spectators, they were a community, standing together arm in arm against loneliness and hurt. With a newfound resolve radiating through the room, Lily turned back to her father, her heart pounding with unexpected joy. It was not the end of their journey, but perhaps the beginning of something beautiful. As the energy swirled around her, a smile broke through her uncertainty. "Let us do it," she declared, feeling the warmth of their united hearts. But just as the crowd was swept up in their collective momentum, another voice pierced through, deep and heavy. "And what about the ones who can't reach out? What about the ones who've already given up?" The gentle yet confronting question lingered in the stillness that followed, leaving everyone to contemplate their own truths and fears. Who would answer this call? And how many more stories remained to be told? Lily felt the weight of that voice, heavy and haunting. It hung in the air like a cloud threatening rain. Everyone turned, faces twisted with concern and sorrow. It was a call to arms, one that made their hearts ache in unison. The little girl stepped back, her tiny shoulders shaking, and the warmth of hope that had spread through the crowd seemed to falter, dimmed by the question. Lily glanced round, catching her father's gaze. His eyes reflected a shared uncertainty. He stepped forward, taking a deep breath, then spoke softly. "You're right. There are many who feel lost, who believe they're beyond help." His voice wavered, the truth painfully clear. "We can't just turn away from them." A young woman from the back stood up, her arms crossed tightly as if to hold herself together. "But how do we reach them?" she asked, her voice tinged with frustration. "They won't just show up here asking for help." The girl's eyes widened slightly, but she remained silent, as if her heart could only absorb so much at once. The room felt charged with emotion, everyone grappling with the reality of their words. "Maybe we could form a group," Lily suggested, feeling a spark of determination. "We can plan ways to reach out, even to those who feel too far gone." A ripple of murmurs surged through the crowd. Hope ignited again, but they weren't out of the woods yet. Behind the hope lay stark reality's hurdles that couldn't be ignored. What if we fail? Another voice came, trembling slightly. What if we try our best and still miss? Lily felt her breath hitch. The fear of inadequacy danced at the edges, ready to pounce. But much like the girl on stage, she understood that courage lived in pushing forward, despite uncertainty. It won't be easy, she admitted, but even small acts can make a difference. Sometimes it's just about showing we care. A murmur of agreement washed over the crowd, tiny seeds of resolve starting to bloom amid the doubt. Remember, her father said, stepping closer, it's important to show our love, not just to the ones who ask for it, but also to those who don't. The little girl lifted her head, her shiny eyes shimmering with cautious hope. I just want my mom to know I still love her, even if it's hard, she whispered, her voice breaking. What if we reach them with love? Lily's heart clenched. The girl's words resonated, striking chords deep within. Love was the key. Love was what opened the locked doors to those lost inside themselves. Let us hold a community meeting, Lily proposed, excitement bubbling. Fair or festival, just to bring everyone together. We could create a space where people can feel safe and wanted. A wave of chatter enveloped the room again. Ideas bounced like bright colors, filling the once stagnant air with life. But amidst the buzz, another voice punctured through the veil of optimism. A man, scruffy and worn, stood at the back. His presence commanded attention. And what about the dangers? What if they don't want help? What if they hurt us? A profound silence fell in response. Fear hung heavy, a tangible entity that everyone grappled with. Lily's heart raced. How could they encourage healing and connection in the shadow of such fear? Maybe, she began, her voice steady yet quiet, it's okay to be afraid. It's what we do with that fear that matters. The atmosphere thickened, emotions swirling, hearts open yet guarded. Could they really put love into action in the face of doubt, pain, and risk? Lily's gaze roamed over the faces, searching for a flicker of conviction. And as she locked eyes with the little girl, she knew the answer was hidden yet alive waiting to be uncovered. Yet each answered question unveiled another layer, another depth to their mission. As they began to talk, share possibilities, the room echoed with hope, uncertainty, and the indomitable spirit of connection. But the heart of the matter found itself tangled in one undeniable truth: could they persevere through fear and truly bridge the gap to heal those who felt unworthy of healing? Would the brave steps they envisioned bear fruit in the real world? In that moment, courage flickered and dimmed. What would it take to transform fear into a force for good? And would they be ready for whatever awaited them at the end of the journey? The crowd swelled with energy, a pulse of collective hope, yet beneath the surface, fear still churned. Lily felt the weight of everyone's expectations. It won't be easy, she began again, her voice steady but laced with gravity. But maybe change can start small. If we can show just one person that they matter, that they're seen, it could open doors we never thought possible. Her father nodded, stepping beside her with a newfound sense of purpose. I see so many people here who want to make a difference. We just need to unite our voices, our ideas. Excitement rippled through the crowd as people began to chime in. Suggestions poured forth: food drives, music workshops, street performances, and community gatherings where stories could be shared. More than a concert, they envisioned a movement, and then, the little girl with the brave voice stood up again. Can we have a wall? A wall of love? She asked, her eyes shining brightly. Everyone could write a note for someone they miss or someone they want to reach out to. Lily's heart swelled. That's beautiful. A wall where we can express every emotion, every piece of love that needs to spill out into the world. It was an anchor in turbulent waters, a way for people to feel connected despite overwhelming pain. The voices cascaded, eager minds merging into a chorus of hope, each heartbeat synchronized to the rhythm of a blossoming community. Lily felt like she was standing at the center of something larger than herself, something transformative. As they strategized and planned, the chemistry buzzed in the air. But Lily's gaze drifted to her father. Their connection was still fragile as they navigated through unspoken apologies and missed years. It was time to peel back another layer. "Dad," she said softly, cutting through the frenzy. "I know we've got a long road ahead of us. I don't expect easy answers, but I want you to help me with this. Let us bring people together, starting with my music. Together." His expression softened, a glimpse of pride shining through the worry. "I'd be honored, Lily. I want to help you build this." Tears filled her eyes. Perhaps in his presence, during acts of kindness, they could build something greater, not just a concert, but a bridge of understanding. With every note played and every heartfelt plan discussed, perhaps they both would find pathways to forgiveness. The audience was buzzing now, voices overlapping in a kaleidoscope of ideas. As they finalized plans for a festival, Lily pulled her father close. "Let us do this together," she said. "For those who need us. And for us, too." "Okay," he nodded firmly, a gentle sincerity reflecting in his eyes. Days flew by in a whirlwind of preparation. Flyers were posted, communities were met, and moment by moment, a dream transformed into reality. Finally, the day of the festival dawned. With colorful flags dancing in the wind and laughter mingling with music, the space buzzed with anticipation. The air smelled of roasted corn, fresh flowers, and the comforting embrace of community. Lily took a deep breath, heart racing with a cocktail of joy and nerves. The wall of love was proudly displayed, filled with countless notes of love and longing. She and her father stood side by side, looking out at the crowd, refueling the hopes they had both carried for so long. "Ready?" he asked, his voice thick with emotion. "Yeah," she replied with a radiant smile. As the first notes of her violin poured out, weaving through the warm afternoon air, the crowd quieted. Their shared hope transformed into a powerful resonance, and Lily's music echoed ambition and healing. In that moment, everything fell into place. This was the purpose they had sought so deeply. Lily looked into the faces of those gathered strangers, fellow dreamers, individuals bonded by pain but connected through love. Hope glimmered like the Chicago skyline at sunset, shimmering with potential, but it wasn't just healing for the audience. This was catharsis for her, too, a chance to forgive, to let go, and to discover that change isn't just possible. It's necessary. The music swelled. Notes rising higher, embracing every share of pain and flickering hope. Together, they forged a symphony of strength, and for the first time, Lily felt freed. As the last note lingered in the air, applause erupted, but it was more than noise. It was recognition of shared journeys, identities, and connections forged in vulnerability. As tears rolled freely down her cheeks, she realized, in that moment, their dreams were no longer out of reach. They were tangible, alive, and thriving. "Let us keep going," she shouted into the microphone, heart full. "Let us keep connecting, sharing, and healing. This is just the beginning." "Yes." The crowd echoed back, mirroring her passion. And as they rallied together, she understood now family could be rebuilt, bonds mended, and love could erupt amidst chaos. This was more than personal healing, it was a movement. Standing beside her father, she finally felt whole. Together, they would face whatever lay ahead, hand in hand. That if you want to be part of more incredible stories like this, now is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss out. Hit that like button now to feed the algorithm. It makes a big difference. Comment below with your feelings about this ending, what resonated with you. And don't wait not even one more second. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation and join the movement. Let's keep this momentum going.